Parkway, Laughlin, Nevada, 89029. Today is November 12th, 2025, and the time is 1:30. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. The board may combine two or more agenda items for consideration. The board may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item at any time. No action may be taken on any matter not listed on the posted agenda. All planning and zoning matters heard at this meeting are forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners Zoning Commission, BCC, or the Clark County Planning Commission, PC, for final action. Please turn off or mute all cell phones and other electronic devices. Please take all private conversations outside the room. With a 48-hour advance request, a sign language interpreter or other reasonable efforts to assist and accommodate persons with physical disabilities may be made available by calling 702-455-3530, TDD at 702-385-7486, or Relay Nevada toll-free at 800-326-6868. Supporting material provided to the board members for this meeting may be requested from Tammy Harris at 702-298-0828. Supporting material is or will be available at the Clark County Department of Administrative Services, 500 South Grand Central Parkway, 6th floor, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89155. Supporting material is or will be available on the county's website at clarkcountynv.gov/LaughlinTAB. I will now take roll call. I am here as the chair. Kathy Oakes.
Present.
Bradley Beck.
Here.
Kathleen Haas.
Here.
And our other position is still vacant at this time. Our secretary, Tammy Harris, can be reached at 702-298-0828 or Tammy.Harris at clarkcountynv.gov. Our county liaison, Mark Moskowitz, can be reached at 702-298-0828 or 702-455-6173, or Mark.Moskowitz, MOSKOWITZ, at clarkcountynv.gov. I now call this meeting to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. This is a time for public comment. This period is devoted to comments by the general public about items on this agenda. No discussion, action, or vote may be taken on this agenda item. You will be afforded the opportunity to speak to an individual public hearing item at the time they are presented. If you wish to speak to the board about items within its jurisdiction, but not appearing on this agenda, you must wait until the comments by the general public period listed at the end of this agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step up to the speaker's podium. If applicable, clearly state your name and address, and please spell your last name for the record. If any member of the board wishes to extend the length of a presentation, this will be done by the chairperson or the board by majority vote. Seeing as no one...
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I do, and I just need clarification. Do you want me to go to the podium, or, and it is pertaining to this agenda item? From the bench, okay. So, Madam Chair, I just have a question of staff for a definition, possibly from county staff as well. Given, one of the agenda items we're going to be discussing is the water tanks and the, loan and all that type of stuff. One of the questions, when you start looking for funding that I have is, given the public safety concern aspect that raises with the water tanks, public safety, fire suppression, it's obviously a public safety item. would it be something that would be possible for CDAC for a grant, Community Development Advisory Committee, of which I sit on that board, and I have heard, other things have been brought to us throughout Clark County, unincorporated areas that have qualified for grants. And so I'm asking if something along that scheme, along, the journey towards these water tanks and getting it done, if it might be something that would be able to be submitted for with CDAC.
Yeah, and I know we can't really do like back and forth.
Correct.
I would say I could definitely look into that.
Please.
I don't have an answer right now. I think it's.
I didn't either, so
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just putting it to staff so that we can get an idea if that might be, it's gonna be an ongoing project. It's not just gonna happen one year, but it may be something that we could look at.
And I think when Mr. Hobbs does his presentation, I think we could also ask that as well.
Correct, and he may know a little bit about that
Yep.
from the finance standpoint.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna combine 3 and 4, approval of the minutes for October 14th, 2025, and approval of the agenda for November 12th, 2025, and hold, combine, or delete items. Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to informational items, receiver report and updates from the South County Liaison, Mark Moskowitz, on the opening of the Laughlin UMC Online Care Connection Center, and any other updates from Clark County.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to bring up my presentation and we'll show a video and then I'll go into more depth. Hopefully it'll work. Let's see.
Community members in Laughlin now have access to UMC's telemedicine healthcare and will now be able to connect with the health system's trusted providers. Clark County Commissioner Michael Naft and Laughlin community members attended a special ribbon cutting this week of the UMC Online Care Connection Center. This location offers care for a wide range of urgent issues and routine medical needs. The UMC Online Care staff can also connect patients to in-person care. Clark County Commissioner says he's excited to expand access to care for residents.
It's been a number of years since we lost our quick care clinic here in Laughlin, and having a presence from a healthcare provider that's as respected as UMC is so valuable to people of the township here.
I'm very excited. On Wednesday, October 29th, we did the ribbon cutting for our UMC Online Care Connection Center. It's located next door at the Community Resource Center. It's in an office. We have some flyers in the back. It's really great. So it's it's mainly telemedicine, which is a lot of the way the medical system is going. But what it is it'll be open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. And what happens is some of our seniors in our community, it's sometimes difficult to do telemedicine. Like, you're not feeling well, you're sick, you don't really want to work on uploading a driver's license, insurance, all that. You can head over to that building, walk in. There's a staff member there that'll be able to get all your insurance in, your driver's license, and then they'll be able to sit you in a cubicle and bring a doctor right up. So this is our start to really help with those kind of small needs. Of course, if you have a life-threatening emergency, please call 911 and go to the emergency room. But this is more of like, say you got a stuffy nose or you have an earache, you can go right to the online care. They can bring you in, you can get a prescription from a doctor, and then you can go pick it up. So we're really trying to avoid driving an hour and a half, going to see a doctor, get a prescription, then driving an hour and a half back, going to a doctor. So we really want the community to use it. Because we want to see that there is truly a need for more healthcare in Laughlin, and this is a good start. It's a really great setup. So we're very, very happy to have it open. I think it's gonna be great. I've talked to a lot of people that said, yeah, I don't want to mess with my phone, and like, especially not feeling well, uploading all this stuff. I just want to go someplace, talk to somebody, get a doctor. And we did a test run with the doctor, and the doctor said there's a lot of things that they've learned over the years that they can kind of diagnose with telemedicine. So they can they can't really look in your ear, but they can figure out, oh, you might have an ear infection, let's do this and that. So very excited to have it here. Please let our office know if you have any questions. If you have questions about insurance, we can connect you with UMC to make sure your insurance is taken. I have heard, like, if you don't have insurance, it's generally going to be about $59, which is a little bit, but it's not horrible if you need those, just to get a prescription and get something immediately. So we're very excited for it. Like I said, there's some flyers in the back. If you'd like me to email you any of these flyers, if you want them for businesses, let me know, and we're very excited for it.
Just a question. So you said when they go and they sign up and at the office, then at that point, is all of that information, would they be able to access that portal from their home or residence so that they wouldn't have to go back to it if they had a need arrive like a week later?
Yes, that's very true. So it kind of helped kind of kick it off. And some people just don't want to use their smartphones. Some people don't have smartphones, so they can't really do the telemedicine. But ideally, everyone can do the same care on their smartphone themselves. This is more if they just want help getting started, but also if they just don't want to do it themselves. If they want to.
Or older population, they would get it uploaded and, fed into the system, and then it would be an easier access instead of doing all those documents.
Yep, and you can do it all. They'll kind of create your My Chart, as they call it, so that has like all your information, so you can just kind of go in the app and do it yourself. But it's nice there because, say, like, you can't hear the person, there's a staff member right there that can kind of coordinate on the spot. They can make sure the camera's looking at you. Just those little difficult things when we're not feeling well or have a problem that they can kind of take over. So, but yeah, we're very, very excited for it.
Oh, great.
And then my next update, Trunk or Treat was later that day. It was awesome. I want to thank Donald Lemire with the PTO, Parks and Rec, Alana Bronson. Metro and Silver Rider really helped. We handed out 200 pumpkins, and Metro helped bring them there, and Silver Rider helped bring them there as well. They're quite heavy when you add up 200 pumpkins at once, but it was a great event. Sue made sure Commissioner Naft and I went through her haunted bus, and it was scary, so Silver Rider does a great job. Metro was there as well, as always, our partners handing out candy and all that. So it was a great event. I think every kid in Laughlin has more candy than they need. So we were very happy to participate in that. Whoops. Oh, so, and then I know yesterday was Veterans Day. I want to thank Kathleen and Pam. They did a wonderful job of, with the Legion as well, with a really meaningful presentation. I've been to several around Clark County and the state, and I was talking to Commissioner after, and I said, because he was at the parade and everything in Las Vegas, I said, both Pam and Kathleen, like, really speak to everybody and make it feel very inclusive and just really make the day meaningful. So I want to thank both of you. Your words are always so well-spoken, both of you, and really have an impact on everyone in the community, and I want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone for their service. It was a very meaningful day, so thank you.
Thank you.
And those are all my updates.
Receive a report from Lieutenant Rogers with Metro Police regarding activity and statistics during past month and other areas of crime concerns.
It's not Lieutenant.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Donnie Cox. There was a slight increase in the calls for service from from last year to this year, but from September last month to October, there was not a significant increase. We've noticed a lot more foot traffic in a lot of the casinos, so there's been a lot more calls for service related to the casinos. You can see that's reflected mostly like the Riverside and the typical calls for service that we get for service from the casinos. The domestic violence arrests, we had 4 arrests for adults, none for juveniles. 24 people were booked at Tucker Holding Facility, 0 juveniles. Juveniles are taken straight to Las Vegas. 4 calls for service at Laughlin High School, none at the elementary school. And like I said, the casinos have reported they've seen a lot more foot traffic, so that's caused their calls for service to go up. But the number of arrests have been relatively the same. So not many more people being cited or arrested. Just calls. In the residential area, the calls for service were up slightly. There's not really an explanation for that. Nothing else really goes on in the residential area. As far as the community events, like Mark said, we had a fantastic time with Trunk or Treat. Our National Night Out, October is like a huge month for us for the outreach in the community. Today we had the Red Cross Blood Drive, which was moved over to the marina since we're doing this here in this room. And then I have that scheduled every 8 weeks all the way through 2026. So members of the community who want to come out and donate blood, this will be a regular thing. They're actually looking to expand it so that we can make it more accessible. So instead of having to go across the river or make a trip to Las Vegas, you can, if you want to donate blood, you could do it a lot more easily here. But the marina looks amazing. We love working with Evan and Mr. Dunkel. The family's amazing. Everything that we do over there is just, it's a great experience. And then we had Coffee with a Cop this morning. This is our last Coffee with a Cop event for the year. The next Coffee with a Cop will be scheduled in January at Harrah's. So we're trying to get more inclusion to the casino area, and then throughout the year, we'll kind of keep it moving around. So those are already scheduled. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Receive a report from Sergeant Tim Waller with Nevada Highway Patrol regarding activity and statistics during the last month and other public safety concerns.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Tim Waller, Nevada Highway Patrol. For the month of October this year, we conducted 416 traffic stops, issued 371 citations, investigated 5 crashes, and had 1 arrest. And with all the other miscellaneous calls and motorist assist, we had a total of 558 contacts for last month. Any questions?
I do drive quite a bit to Vegas for some of the other things that I do besides town board. Why did they extend all the darn cones again?
So they originally told us that they were going to be done by the end of October with the paving, which they were, but they're really taking their time with a lot of the details, putting all the signs back in, mile markers, and now they're restriping and they're going to put down all the reflective dots and all that.
So I did notice where it completely ends, and it used to have the sign that went back to 75. So I know I was there just last week, and that 75 sign never went up all the way to Boulder.
Yeah, so they haven't done the greatest job with managing the speed limits out there. They put a 55 sign up and then you don't see anything for miles. The cones kind of go away and then all of a sudden there's a lane closed. It's still technically a construction
Right,
zone.
and I understand when there's still a lane closure.
Right.
But once you're past everything, generally it's gone back to 75.
Yeah.
But I noticed last week, it did not go back at all.
Yeah, so they probably haven't put the sign back up, and again, you know, we've talked to them a little bit about their lack of how they've posted it, and I've instructed my guys to be fair to people because, you know, you can honestly go through there and think, okay, well, there's no cones, I haven't seen a sign in a while, my GPS says 75, and we've been doing that, so they just haven't done a great job with the company they've contracted to make sure that they've got the speed limits posted. What I do know is by the end of this week, they're supposed to be done, unless the rain puts them behind schedule or they, you know, holidays, that kind of thing. So with a little luck, we'll all be done with it.
I'm leaving
here
out on
soon.
Friday, so
So-
now
Yeah,
looking
I start
forward to going
daily.
through it again.
Yeah, and I start daily. I have a female I'll be breeding, so I'm taking her up for progesterone results. So I'll be making that trip every day for
It's gonna
the
get better
next-
for you.
Yeah, 5 to 10
Yeah,
days.
it'll be good for all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Receive a report from Clark County Fire Department regarding calls for service during the past month and other fire prevention issues.
Hello, Board. Captain Hutch with the Clark County Fire Department. I have October's numbers. Last year was 186 calls for service. We had 258 this year for service, so we had a 38% increase in calls for October of this year. Overall for the year, we're 6% up on calls for service. Our biggest concern right now is with the ambulance company in town, AMR, who is pulling out of town. We know that Commissioner Naff has met with them, with our administration and stuff, and they will be pulling out of Laughlin. They're working very hard to get Community down here, which is a great ambulance company. So that's on the board there, but Mark might know more about what's going on with that than I do, honestly. But it is a concern of ours.
I can give a quick update as well from Captain Hutch. So yes, AMR, they made a decision to just pull out, which was very frustrating. Commissioner Naff was not happy about it. He made a statement about it at the Board of County Commissioners. We worked with them very hard to figure out why they're doing that. They couldn't really give us an answer. Community ambulance has stepped up, and we are exploring how to get them to have a seamless transition. I'm working with Jackie with the Laughlin Tourism Commission, because similar to what we do with our lifeguards during the summer months where we put them up in the hotels, we're going to work with the hotels to present an option to see if we can have community ambulance kind of do a rotation or work with them to make it so they can still service our casino corridor and to service our residential area as well. Yes, the fire department is, it's very unfortunate that it falls back on them when our ambulance company comes out, and we were there with everybody with Clark County Fire, and we're not happy, but I think there's going to be a seamless transition. I'll be meeting with AMR next week in Laughlin just to kind of show them the area. They're very familiar, that they've actually done it before at State Line and where they were in the old Terribles Casino, so they're used to doing a casino-type operation, but I'm going to kind of just show them all the facilities to see what we can work with, but I think it's going to work out. They're been very receptive to it, so we're just excited to get them on a board item so that it can then remove AMR and then bring community ambulance in, so, yeah.
Out of curiosity, Madam Chair, if I remember correctly, we had an agenda item with AMR regarding their lease of a condominium unit in Colorado Bay Club.
Yes.
You know, we recommended it, but I don't know if that didn't go through the BCC or...
No, so that was all approved. I think what they're going to look at is they're going to work with AMR to kind of hopefully take over that lease in the residential area.
I see.
And if that doesn't happen, then we'll explore other options of making sure that they have a presence. So I believe the one that they pulled out immediately was the one that kind of serviced the casino corridor area. So that's why we're working with the hotels to figure out how to get them back there. And then the residential one as well is what we're making sure that they can kind of hopefully take over that lease and keep that as well.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, you
Yes.
know, if indeed the BCC didn't approve that, our recommendation, that wasn't why they pulled out.
No. The BCC followed your recommendation with approval because it makes sense to have an ambulance company. So, yeah.
Okay.
If you want to continue with your report. Thank you.
If,
Any other questions for me?
No,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, more.
thanks.
Jason Bailey with
Way back
Big Bend Water
Couldn't see him.
regarding the status of the water system.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jason Bailey with the Big Bend Water District with a monthly report. For the month of October, total water diversions were 261 acre feet or 85 million gallons. Year to date, that's 2,613 acre feet, which is just 13 acre feet lower than this time last year. So pretty much on target with the same usage last year. Finished water meter data was 322 acre feet, which is 104.9 million gallons of water. As far as a system update, I wanted to report when we were here last month, there was a main break kind of that same day. That main break was repaired 6 a.m. the following day. So I believe it was the October 14th when it broke, and then it was repaired the morning of the 15th. And I was able to communicate with the board on that repair. The finished water motor number 3 has been serviced and has been returned, and this will help increase our water distribution. Redundancy, also staff has responded to about 10 customer service calls for the month of October. Those could be leaks or other things. As far as a financial update for the fiscal year to date through September 30th, the debt balance has decreased $621,243. So from the year-end 2025's balance of $2.66 million to approximately $2.04 million. And then I also wanted to report that at the November 4th Big Bend Water District Board of Trustees meeting, the Board of Trustees approved a business impact statement related to the proposed rate increase, and they set a public hearing date for December 2nd at 9 a.m. at the Clark County Government Center. And that will be the public hearing for the proposed rate increase. At that meeting, they also accepted the Big Bend Water District annual financial report, and that report has been uploaded to the Big Bend Water District website. And that is my report.
Madam Chair?
Yes, right.
I'm sorry, Jason, but just in the interim since the passing that we've had with Fred, you know, I was in process trying to garner and get some of the emails and information on projects that we were working in tandem, but we both had our own little sections that we were working on. But in the interim, I just ran across something, and I don't know if you can give any insight from the Southern Nevada Water Authority. My curiosity is there was a payment made in June of 2024. And what was that for? Was it a purchase of water allocation? You know, we use about 3,000 acre feet, and that leaves, you know, 12,000 available. Was that a purchase, you know, that was done? I just don't have any detail on that.
Do you have the amount?
Yes, I do. I just have to go back to some of the emails. It was either, I want to say 850,000 or 250,000.
If you'll send me the amount and that date, I can look into that and get back to you.
Right, okay, all right, thank you.
That
I
was
just thought
June of
maybe you knew
24?
what it was, so.
Okay,
Any other questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
thank you.
Will Smith is not here, but his report is in the back of the,
Oh, hi. We were looking for Will.
looking for Will. Receive a report from Clark County Reclamation District
afternoon.
regarding the status of the wastewater system.
Yeah, Will had, he's a busy man, so he asked me to show up today. October, we treated an influent average of 1.531 million gallons per day. We returned to the Colorado River for the month 42.625 million gallons, or 130.820 acre feet. Last year, October of 2024, we had an influent average of 1.65, so
Little less.
and we returned to the Colorado River 44.609 million gallons, or 136.909 acre feet. That's a decrease of 1.98 million gallons, or 6.1 acre feet. That was not returned to the river. He mentioned that the influent flow comparison chart is attached. No sewer service complaints, no odor complaints, 3 call before you dig tickets were received. And if you got any questions, I'll pass them off to Will, or I'll try to answer them for you.
I'm on a roll.
Yeah, you are. Go
Madam
ahead.
Chair. Just you paused a little bit, which drew my attention. So 2025, a decrease of 1.98 million gallons, or 6.1 acre feet. What do you attribute that to? Since we actually, you know, cleaned and treated less, so, and less was returned.
I think it's just looking at the trend over the last 10 years and looking back from 2020, it's just really never has fully recovered. The flow's never really recovered since the COVID. It's still, the flow we receive is still down.
Okay.
If you look at the influent trend that's provided, you can see like September of 25 and 24 were almost the same, but August was less, July was less, June was less, 2025 of 2024. There's a few months that are almost the same or a little higher, but you know, also you gotta figure gas prices were a little high this year also.
So it doesn't necessarily, you know, create any issues within our system, treating it less efficiently and having less yield?
No, no ma'am, it doesn't. It's a little challenging at times because the plant's built to treat 8.5 million gallons per day.
Right.
So whenever we're taking in, you know, say 1.5.
It's minimal,
to 2,
right? It's minimal
it
within
is
its
minimal.
capacity. It's,
And
yeah.
And so it does create operational issues, but we've been dealing with that since 2020. So we've in a way, we've gotten good at it. So
Okay.
it's working. The plant performs really well, and we put out a really high-quality effluent.
Yeah, and I know we're way below our capacity at the
Yes,
treatment,
way
so.
below.
I just wanted to be sure we weren't having any deferred maintenance or, some issues. Sometimes with water, we have some leaks or some inefficiency of the meters and that type of thing. So I just wanted to be sure that wasn't also something that I had perhaps missed, at our reclamation.
No, everything's running great.
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you.
No, Madam Chair.
No. Thank you. I don't see Mike Jackson. Receive a report from Kelly Lear, Southern Clark County Coordinator with UNR Extension regarding the status of programs and upcoming activities.
Good afternoon. Status, Devin is still delivering Steaming Through the Seasons to Bennett's second graders for supplementary science curriculum on Thursdays. And she teaches wildlife in the garden and junior master gardener concepts at the library on Tuesdays. We brought outdoor Nevada classes during in-service days. It started last month and we were supposed to go to the dam. And that didn't work out because of elevator issues. So we took the kids to Pyramid Canyon Park. It was the equestrian trail. And we went up and it overlooks the river and the dam. It was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous day. And we got some kids from Searchlight to join with us. And so as often as we can get them outside, we're going to do that. We have the Davis Dam one has been rescheduled for January. So I put flyers in the back. The flyer is the same. It has the old date on it because I didn't want to change the QR code. Any kid who signed up for the Davis Dam will still be on that list. And so it's back there. All the events are free and open to students in the community, but space is limited for things like that. So they just need to put their name down and their parents' phone number. We also offer our shooting sports in Searchlight the first Saturday from 9 to 11 at the old shooting range. And we've had quite a bit of Laughlin kids come up there and join us. And so this is exciting to bring these two communities together to take part in different things that the different communities are offering. Last Saturday, we had NDOW collaborate with us, and we went fishing out at Cottonwood Cove, and we had 5 or 6 kids from Laughlin join us there. So honestly, as often as we can get them outside, we're gonna do it. We are bringing, these are my old notes. It says bringing Searchlight and Laughlin kids to the first Lego League Challenge qualifying event at Desert Oasis High School. It's on Saturday, November 22nd, and we'll be representing Southern Nevada. The theme this year is Unearthed, and it's around archaeology. And the kids are excited because they talked to the judges about the similarities between our mining industry and archaeology. And so they got excited. Their robot is called the Canary, and it goes in underground spaces, and it maps out the geography, the location. It makes a noise and scares out animals, because the younger kids were concerned with that. And it tests for deadly gases and toxins, and then it also will provide a walkie-talkie, so some comm system, water, food, and a GPS system in case something collapses. They will be able to get to, they say the miners, but the archaeologists. Super excited up until the Searchlight kids found out that they had to present this in front of judges. So they bowed out last week. So 3 boys from Laughlin are presenting, and they will be, we ditched the Searchlight Lego League miners, now we're just the 4-H Lego League miners. And so they're going to meet me today at 3:15, and we're gonna finalize that project. And I'll report the results to you next time I see you. They're good kids, but they're gonna come in from behind. They're a little lagging, because we've been working on things for 2.5 months. And it's pretty intense. There's thousands of kids at this competition, so they'll be excited. I'll let you know how it goes. Our November Healthy Aging and Living newsletters in the back, and I reported last time that I went through the training to be a bingo size instructor. So the next time we meet, I'll have flyers at the next meeting because I want to generate that and start that around the community. I participated in a couple of them in Las Vegas as a training, and it's fun. There's what's not to enjoy. It's bingo and it's prizes, and it's getting together and laughing and listening to music. So, you know, if it's a free form of entertainment, I think Laughlin will really like it. I enjoyed dragging my husband to trunk or treat. I made him dress up like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I will drag him again this week to the Rev Fest, where we will have hoverball. So if any of you have never tried it, it's an indoor archery, and I encourage everybody in here to come try it. It's fun, it's different. Stop by and give it a try. And then I want to remind you all that I got those new radon kits. Super easy to use. They plug in, they give a digital display. You don't have to send anything out. It would just be call a phone number if that display is really high, so you would know how to mitigate those circumstances, because really it's an odorless gas that comes up from the foundation of homes. And so any Nevada resident that's interested, I have 5 kits. You check them out for 2 weeks. It's pretty simple. I've already had 3 people come grab them and already bring them back. So then my boss and I attended the commissioner meeting last month, and we received permission to lease the building down on Casino Drive. So we're awaiting the keys, and then we'll start doing some rehab. Our efforts will probably be months long because that thing has been vacant for quite a while. So we're excited, though. We're going to be able to service maybe some of the casino industry, and the kids will actually have a place to come to programming, and I can ditch my storage, which is packed to the hilt. So I'm excited. Any questions for me?
Just where on Casino Drive?
It shares the parking lot with Endow, and I'll be right next to these two right here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. The brown building. Yep. Dark, or is it gray? Okay, maybe I'm colorblind. Okay, I might explain a lot of things. Okay, thank you.
And we hope to have some raised beds there. So I'll probably get questioned on that too.
And thank you for the ones at the post. Receive a report from Carrie Larson with Laughlin Chamber of Commerce regarding current and upcoming business activities in Laughlin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a short report today. We have a ribbon cutting on Friday at Panda Express inside the Aquarius. Panda is back, and we are very excited about that. So this will be their grand opening / ribbon cutting, and I think the first 88 get t-shirts for free. So that will be a barrel of fun. Orange chicken. Then on the 19th, we have Kush on 66. It's the ribbon cutting for their Cannabis shuttle with Desert Wonder Tours. Our office has decided it would be better named the Weed Wagon, but they're going to be providing round trips for different levels of enjoyment, 2 needles to Kush on 66. Also on Friday at 8:30 in the morning, we have Rick Cosgrove with Save On Estate Planning. He's going to be doing a class for people to learn a little bit more about, you know, planning your estate and having everything in order. So I highly encourage you. The class will be about an hour, and then he'll have office hours after that. He'll hang around for a couple of hours for questions for people. Coming up December 6th will be our 3rd and final trip, Roadhouse Roundup. We have become BFFs with Searchlight. So the kids are hanging out, and so are the adults, enjoying music and fun. So they are coming down here to Old Town Saloon. This will be our giant grand finale. Big checks. Tyler Halsey and the Roadhouse, or the Rivertown Bandits, will be playing that night. We had Tinsel and Tunes Monday night, and that was amazing. We had about 170 people there. We collected a huge trash can, plus all over the floor of toys. Got some great tips. We'll see how much we're able to donate those proceeds, so I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a very fruitful series of events. Searchlight came down. They had a whole table. So we really like them. They're fun. So far this quarter, we have 5 new members for a total membership of 314. Our volunteers in partnership are still volunteering throughout the community and doing townwide events. So the email for Sue is on there for that. And we continue to have all of our regular services at the chamber. Any questions? Nope, thanks.
Thank you. Receive a report from Jackie Wallen with Laughlin Tourism Commission regarding current and upcoming events and activities.
Good afternoon. So the wand fishing tournament, in my last report, I was able to tell you some very successful stories about it, but this year we will not be re-sponsoring them for 2026. You're gonna ask me why?
Yeah.
They didn't fill rooms. So the problem we're having is that, like with the off-road racing, post-COVID, off-road racers decided to buy RVs during COVID, and now that's where they stay. They don't stay in the rooms. So if you don't build bed tax dollars and fill occupancy, I don't get any money to sponsor events. It's really easy calculation. The same went with wand fishing tournament. The majority of our, I can't say the majority, I'd say 2/3 of our fishermen were staying either at Catherine Landing or they were going into Airbnbs over on the Arizona side. And so we weren't getting the bed tax dollars. We liked them, they had fun, we did a really good job. Everybody loved to go over there and watch, and it was a great attention or destination, attention getter for the great fishing we have along our river or on Lake Mojave. So that doesn't stop. Those anglers still come here to practice, especially for small and largemouth bass. What I am looking for is kayak striper bass fishing so that we can do striper bass fishing on the river in front of the casinos so that we have more of a spectator event instead of the lonely fishermen out on Lake Mojave. You can't see them. They're just having a good time. More on that later. The townwide concert that we had this last weekend, 10,152 tickets were sold out of 12,000. We didn't have that many people appear. I think it was about 9,500 that actually appeared, but that many tickets were sold. Cinch World's Toughest Rodeo and Marketplace will be back next year on March 27th and 28th, except you'll all be happy to know that they're going to be evening events so that nobody will roast in those metal bleachers again like they did last year. It was really sad. I mean, it was a great event, great entertainment, but it was really hot for the people who attended. So we apologize for that. So then we have a townwide concert right after that. Lainey Wilson, who is the 2024 CMA Female Artist of the Year, will be here on April 11th. That was a great find and a great signature to acquire, and we're really happy about her. She draws a big crowd, and she's very popular and current, so we're hoping that will help us with the destination. My notes are pretty much the same as before the steering committees that I'm on. The Laughlin Bullhead Air Show did complete the distribution of the $29,000. Well, it's actually 28,000. It's 28,000. I put 25. 28,936 to all the nonprofits on both sides of the river, with it being about 50-50 Arizona and Nevada for our service organizations. Event hosting, strategic plan project, and the SWOT analysis for our Colorado River region as far as sports and event attractions. We've been doing this study for, I guess, about 6 months now. We just saw the final so that we could draft it. I answered a few more silly questions that this huddle up group needed to know, and that should be out by end of year, and we'll have a better idea about the facilities, venues, and attractions that we can pull here in this destination. So that's really exciting because we're getting an outside view. And that is all I have for Laughlin Tourism.
Any questions?
I would like to add one thing for those of you who didn't know. Joelle Hearns passed away yesterday. She was Laughlin Events and Tourism Development from 87 to 96. She was a hallmark in #1 doing the longest line dance in the city or in the township of Laughlin. That was really one of her fun things, and the Laughlin River Run. She did a lot about off-road races, and she was really in with the rodeo. If you can remember the family that was here before, she was really good friends with them. In 1997 through 2006, she was the executive director of the Laughlin Chamber of Commerce. And she represented the Laughlin Clark County Economic Development Initiatives and Tourism, and she was a management analysis #2 in Clark County for the Laughlin Town Manager's Office. She also worked for food banks in the area outside of here, but she made a big impact on our town and on the city of Bullhead City, and I think that you guys should all know that information, more information on her passing will come out.
Thank you.
It's a big loss.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Can I ask you a question? What about conventions? Do we have conventions in Laughlin that come here?
So we have a lot of conventions and what do you want to call them? Tourism things. Like we just had the Travel Nevada Tourism Conference here last year, me and Meg did, and it was really, really popular. We had a lot of fun. A lot of people from all over the state of Nevada came, and it was lots of fun to meet all those people. Conferences are different. So the largest conference room we have is at the Aquarius. And that room at a sit-down dinner can sit comfortably 550 at the most, with tables of 10, 550 people. That's 55 tables. For a conference and you're sitting in as classroom setting or just in rows, you can fit a lot more. But that is the largest space that we have in this whole township. If anybody wants to come over that, then we need to make sure that they get to split their breakout sessions into different properties. The rumor or the dream at this time is to convert the mall into a convention center. Multi-purpose, retail, indoor dog park for the summertime for our visitors, some indoor things for children, but converting the whole second floor into a conference room. What does that do for us? It pulls the small conference businesses and associations and groups from Las Vegas. We can do a conference here for about 60% of what they're doing conferences for in Las Vegas, and it's much more cumbersome for them. There's a lot of logistics in Las Vegas. Here, they can get in and out of any resort. Those resorts can bring them to and from the mall. Right now, we're doing an analysis on the structure and the, what is that called? The services or utilities. A lot of people are interested. We've had 2 callers this week just to talk about what's the possibility. That corner's very valuable. We did lose Nevada Made Marijuana. It's closed its dispensary, but it still has the grow facility up top. So that whole corner is really popular, and I know that at the end of this year, LEC's lease with the LEC property that we presently have is up. So they're renegotiating that property for our townwide concerts. There's so much going on, but there's dreams for that, and I don't think retail's in it. I think it's more to promote the destination and give everybody a chance, like a concert. We get the concert with Golden Entertainment, everybody's feet hit the floor, and then the resorts have their opportunity to gain them their business. So you have to do it that way here. It's not the same as Las Vegas, it's very different. But keep your fingers crossed.
And Jackie is part of the analysis, the SWOP analysis, looking at that, at the location, at the mall location.
I asked Huddle Up Group to give me their own opinion about how that would work and do some analysis on conferences in Las Vegas. Also give me an idea of what they pay. It's going to take a little while because remember, first the work has to be done, then you have to build the attraction for conferences. Then you have to man that because the kitchens are already there, they have to be rehabbed. But you can definitely do catering there. But then it's going to take a staff. It's going to take a lot. And it's not going to happen overnight. But the ball is rolling.
Okay.
Once we get a real idea, I'm sure we'll be calling Clark County and talking about things that can happen or not happen. But first we have to get the idea on paper.
And they're studying that now?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we have an announcement. The Laughlin Town Advisory Board will begin accepting nominations for the 2026 Laughlin Citizen of the Year on November 12th, 2025, and nominations will close December 31st, 2025. They look like this. They're at the back of the room. Please nominate. There are plenty of people in this community who freely give of their time and their resources to provide for this community. So there should be no lack of names for this. They are available at the library, Community Resource Center, Spirit Mountain Activity Center, Laughlin Administrative Offices, or on the Clark County website at clarkcounty.nevada.gov/Laughlin TAB. I don't know what's wrong with my mouth today. Nomination forms must be turned into the Laughlin Administrative Offices, Laughlin Regional Government Center, 101 Civic Way, Laughlin, Nevada, 89029 by December 31st, 2025 by 5 p.m. Only nominations utilizing the nomination form will be accepted. The Laughlin Citizen of the Year Award is given annually in honor of the late Jim Edwards and is intended to recognize and thank the outstanding citizen of Laughlin who has given of his or her private time and effort to help local government make Laughlin a better place to live. It is expected that the 2025 Citizen of the Year recipient will be announced and honored at the Tuesday, February 10th, 2026 meeting of the Laughlin Town Advisory Board at 1:30 p.m. At this time, we will go to item number 6, Planning and Zoning. Item PA-25-70043- Laughlin Lagoon LLC. Plan amendment to redesignate the existing land use category from entertainment mixed use EM to Ranch Estate Neighborhood RN on 7.63 acres, generally located south of Casino Drive and east of Needles Highway within Laughlin. And, okay.
Speak for the applicant. Okay.
Hi, my name is Yunan Halva, and yes, we are requesting an approval for that lot to be changed to the Ranch Estate neighborhood and the zoning to change into a single-family residence.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, if you've looked at, basically the staff recommendations are, actually what's happening here is this is property, waterfront property on the river area adjacent to the Laughlin home. I believe the applicants are second generation Laughlin, second or third. It was originally zoned to be a commercial mixed use, even casino development. So this is a down, I don't want to say downgrade, but a down
really
rating,
is.
down zoning from like multiple units, lower density for, you know, a legacy home with the Laughlin residents over
Right.
there. And I think everything is recommending, although there were no comments from water, and you remember they were asking if everyone would
Yeah, I didn't see
if they
anything
would
here
down zone
either.
their properties, so I just didn't see any reason not to, you know, motion these for approval. We know what it's gonna be used for. It's 7.63 acres, so, and it'll be, I believe, directly adjacent to the current family residence.
Yes.
That's just
That's
all
what
I
it
could
looked like
gather
to
from
me.
it. Would that be about an
Yes.
accurate synopsis
Yes.
of what we're doing here?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm freezing. It's not 120, so I need a blanket.
And part two of this is the zone change. The zone change, ZC-25-702- Laughlin Lagoon LLC. Zone change to reclassify 7.63 acres from a commercial resort CR zone to an RS 80 residential single-family 80 zone generally located south of Casino Drive and east of Needles Highway within Laughlin. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you already have plans to develop this?
No, we're in the design phase, so we don't have any plans.
I don't think you can yet until you get the
Yeah.
zoning
Yeah,
approved
yeah,
and
that
stuff
would
like
be-
that. You
Yeah,
can't, they can't go forward with that until that's done.
Cart before the horse there.
Right, right, because if they can't get the zoning, it makes no sense to spend
Right.
money to do the plans. But, okay, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion.
Or should I say, is there interest?
Excuse me?
Is there interest, I
It's
guess?
owned by the
Maybe that's a
Laughlin.
It's
better
owned by
question.
the law.
It's owned by the Laughlin family.
Oh,
It's
wanna open
their,
to the
the
public?
residential,
going to.
or it's the lot next to them, where where the Ron Laughlin's home is. It's the lot next to them, so that the next generation can build there. Well, is it, okay, it's a
Almost.
little over, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
I
3
think
lots.
Like maybe three
Three
lots
lots
over, yeah.
and I need, before you make the motion,
Sure.
for us to allow any comments from the public.
Oh, yeah, that's right, sorry.
You can come up to the podium. Please state and spell your name and your address. Thank you.
My name is Cynthia, last name Gerlich, Gerlich. I'm a resident of Laughlin on Royal Princess Road. That would be 1920 Royal Princess Road, about a quarter of a mile from said property that you're discussing. My husband and I have no problem with the new zoning. As a neighbor, we would prefer a home to the previous zoned. Our only concern is there is, I believe, an easement road, a dirt road between, to the right of the said property and to the bankrupt golf course that gives neighbors access to the river and to the jetty and to the lagoon estuary. And we were wondering if that would still be a public.
Yes.
Yes.
So the easement on the east will remain for the public. That road will remain for.
What was the easement designated for? Because for most of us locals, you know, it's just kind of always, we've been able to go out that direction. But easements are typically owned by either the county, power companies, things like that, and they can be locked off. Because if it's owned by someone else, then, you know, they can do that. It's just always been available because there's not been development. But typically easements are secured once there's development.
I don't know what the easement is for. I just know that it is an easement and it's going to remain for the public. It's not going to be closed. It's not part of the, we're not going to make it part of the design.
And I'm just grabbing a look
I know,
through
that's what I was trying to
the
look
prior
and see,
land
too.
use, because typically they'll be delineated on that.
But I didn't see it.
Yeah, commercial
I
side.
looked and
Some of this stuff goes back into the 60s, and it gets hard because even the county doesn't necessarily have records.
I know.
A 5-foot right-of-way, Casino Drive expired. Use permit, H1. That was 1994. Comprehensive.
I don't see anything.
I don't see
about
anything either,
the
yeah.
easement. I don't recall reading anything about the easement either.
I might ask Bob if he knows who owns it. Sorry, but he probably does. Sorry, he's one of the larger developers here. Guy Hobbs may know as well.
Thank you.
It's Army Corps of Engineers?
That sounds right. That
Robert
sounds
Bilbray,
right.
1631
Bill Bray, do you have an
Cal.
idea who
Robert
owns
Bilbray,
that?
1631 Cal Edison Drive. The easement she's probably talking about is the maintenance access easement on the north side of the jetty of the lagoon.
Army Corps of Engineers?
It's, pardon?
Do you think it's owned by Army Corps of Engineers? Or who do you think owns it?
It's definitely federal, so it's inside, yeah, probably would be the Army Corps of Engineers. And it's never been monitored on either side of the jetty access. You know, we've never had a downzoning of this magnitude anywhere in this community. Although I support this and I appreciate the applicant had a separate meeting to speak to the property owners themselves, this is extremely dangerous when you do this on this expensive of a property. That I have no problems about the current applicant, but subsequent owners might at some time say, we don't want any commercial anywhere along the lagoon. And that would probably be a war. So as an adjacent property owner, as long as the record shows that this is a substantial, I mean, it couldn't get any more downzone than this. It's a beautiful plan they've got for it, and I fully support it. You know, I think the record should show that fistfights occur later on after generations pass and all of us are gone. But as far as this design issue here, there's no private property rights on that jetty, access to it that I'm aware of. It's controlled and maintained by the Bureau of Reclamation, and it's part of the levee maintenance system throughout the entire river by the Army Corps of Engineers. Okay.
And thank you for your
Thank you. Anyone else? Now you can make your motion.
Sorry. Cart horse, it's a problem today. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve, let's see, PA 2570043, Laughlin Lagoon LLC, and also ZC 250720, Laughlin Lagoon LLC, for a plan amendment to redesignate existing land use category from mixed use or entertainment mixed use EM to ranch estate neighborhood on 7.63 acres, and also a zone change to reclassify 7.63 acres from a CR commercial resort zone to an RS 80 residential single family 80 zone, generally located south of Casino Drive and east of Needles Highways within Laughlin, with staff recommendations.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, item number 7, general business. Consider a loan in concept from the Fort Mojave Development Fund to the Big Bend River Water District for construction of a water storage tank. Go ahead.
Well, good afternoon again. Guy Hobbs, HOBBS. And I'm just going to recap some of the things that we discussed last time and then leading toward a recommendation that I'll make to you and you can consider. So obviously we're here to talk about a water tank because Laughlin needs the additional water storage capacity. A 2 million gallon water tank has been identified as the near-term solution. Lacking additional water storage capacity, no additional building permits can be issued, which would stymie economic development. And I think as we heard earlier today, there was some reference also made to the fact that it would augment public safety and fire suppression, which is not an unimportant matter either. I think last time I was here, wasn't that a day where part of the system went down?
Yes, but yes, it did.
As good luck would have it that day, right? And obviously, you know, the system redundancy is a huge part of that as well. And I'm telling you things again that I know that you already know, but I sort of want to build through the case here. The cost of the design and installation of the water tank, we're using a number of $11 million, but what I would suggest is we really aren't sure what that will cost. We think that the 11 million, from what I've been told, is at the top. That would be the top bar. And really the only way to determine what it would cost is to design it and take it out to bid. And you know, when you go through a bidding process, you always have the option to reject bids, but it's good to be more informed when making these kinds of decisions than less. And once it's designed, it can be put out. And I think there's really a two-step process involved with this. One would be go out to bid for design of the system, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the recommendation. And then the second part would be, based upon that design, go out to bid to actually install the water tank. And between those two, the cost of doing the design and the cost of doing the installation, we don't believe it exceeds $11 million at this point. Again, just want to make sure that all of these points are clear as we build toward trying to make a case for something here. Now I think we're all clear in the understanding that the Big Bend Water District itself saw that the annual financial report was adopted recently. And that would tell us that Big Bend Water District does not have the financial wherewithal to fund this project, certainly out of cash or reserves. We are fully aware of that. We're also aware that it wasn't but 2-3 months ago that you all considered alternative rate scenarios for Big Bend Water District. One of them did not include, and I think this is the one you adopted, that the commission is now in the process of putting into place, did not include the amortization of a new water tank in the rates.
Correct.
That was the second scenario, which was then largely rejected because of the impact on the water rates. So hopefully I have all of that correct. And the Las Vegas Valley Water District can't fund that project because to use Las Vegas Valley Water District funds would be using funds that are paid by ratepayers in Las Vegas to subsidize a project that's outside of the service territory of the Las Vegas Valley Water District. The Fort Mojave Development Fund could either directly fund or otherwise make funds available, which is what we're talking about here, to pursue this project because it fits in as a precursor to economic development as well. And I think, again, that's something that has been discussed in the past. And it's been proposed that, pardon me, it's been proposed that the Fort Mojave Development Fund loan the funds for the project to the Big Bend Water District, who would in turn make those funds available to the Las Vegas Valley Water District to do the bidding on the design and construction of the project. So that's the flow of the funds. And there's something else I want to speak to because I know there's been some discussion. We're looking at this time because no other funds are available. Nothing jumps right out. Over the past several days, I've had some conversations with Mr. Bill Bray and with Drew Johnson, who some of you may be familiar with regard to something called the Nevada Infrastructure Bank. And I'll talk, is that something you're familiar with, or am I throwing something new at you right now?
You're throwing something new to me.
If you can define it for, I'm familiar with it, but some of the public and may not.
Yeah, no, I'm always happy to do that. So the Nevada Infrastructure Bank is something that was created by state statute. Don't hold me to this estimate, but I want to say it was 6 to 8 years ago that it was put into statute. And for the first 2 to 4 years, there were absolutely no funds in the infrastructure bank. It was like $0. But the structure of a bank was there. And initially, the bank was intended to fund charter school projects, affordable housing, and to provide matching funds on federal grants. Since that time, there have been modifications, including, I think, session before last, $75 million was appropriated by the state to go into the fund. And they may have, and I haven't been able to confirm this myself, they may have broadened the uses of the funds from the infrastructure bank. Now, one of the things about the infrastructure bank to understand is that it was created for largely rural communities that don't have a credit rating. And the thinking was, and I think the discussion between Mr. Bilbray and Mr. Johnson was that perhaps that's an avenue. The issues with that, that I've been able to identify, an entity like Big Bend Water District would have to be an applicant to the state infrastructure bank, who would only then make the loan if they would make the determination that the loan is viable. In other words, that there would be sufficient revenues to repay that loan over a 30-year term. Now, this goes back to the discussion we had about the water rates a few moments ago. One of the only ways that could happen is if a surcharge were put on the water rates to provide additional funds to guarantee repayment of the loan, please.
Or would the portion of the loan be repaid from Fort Mojave Development Fund?
I was thinking.
Well, that's why
as a third
that's
party
why I'm
to pay it back.
explaining all of
Okay,
this to
all right.
you. Is
It
that,
just occurred to me, but I think you're going there anyways.
yeah, well, who knows where I'm going, but we'll find out. So that would be one option. The county could also be an applicant for that loan, but that wouldn't, in my estimation, that would not be something the county would likely do, because they would become the guarantors of that loan, right? Instead of associating it directly with the water system down here. So I doubt that part of it would work. But I raise all that because it came up. It was a good thing to have been brought up. It is something that is out there. And for a loan to be secured, as I'm sure all of you know, there has to be sufficient revenues available on an annual basis to pay the semi-annual principal and interest payments, right? And that's one of the reasons that led us to the Fort Mojave funds, is it's a little bit more flexible over time than a loan with an interest rate attached to it like you would have from the state infrastructure bank. Now, earlier in your day's business, I also heard, I believe it was you, Member Oaks, brought up CDAC funds. I don't know the answer to that. That's obviously an annual process that you and the board go through for eligible projects. You have generally, 5 times the amount of applications as you do the funds each year, so it's a competitive process, and there's never any guarantees. But, I would say is and not to get too much ahead of myself here, but if additional funds were to become available over the 30-year period that we've talked about, and could be used to replenish the Fort Mojave funds and take the place of the funds that were lended under the lending scenario, you should do that. And I would, look, I don't know what the specifics are, but over the course of 30 years, is it likely that there could be a grant program, adjustments to something like the Nevada Infrastructure Bank, CDAC funds, something else that we can't even conceive of yet.
Something federal with matching grants, yeah.
Yeah, and the state, by the way, too, just to round all of this out, the state has a revolving fund for natural resources. But those are also loans that get amortized over a specific period of time with an interest rate. Again, different than what we've been talking about with the lending of the Fort Mojave funds. So I just wanted to bring all of that up because, when you make a statement that no other funding is available, I personally like to be able to back that up with some notions that we've looked at other alternatives, and some of them are problematic. So the loan itself that we've discussed, and this is probably repetitive of some of the points that were brought up the last time I was with you. I think I spoke last time of capping the loan initially at $11 million. And the reason I say initially is not because the number would go up from there. It's because we don't know what this tank actually costs. And I'll give you a for instance, in the design part of it, let's say they identify, once they go through all of the engineering things that are not in my wheelhouse, and determined that it's $8.5 million. The loan should be capped at the total cost of the project and moved down from 11 million to the cost of the project. That's a feature that I think needs to be added to this. So you're not lending a sum of money that isn't needed for the project that you're talking about. So that's point number one. If the bids were to come in higher than $11 million, which I would be very surprised if that happened, the bids could either be rejected or other funds could be sought to supplement that shortfall. And it would, of course, the answer to that is how much over 11 million are we talking about? If it's 22 million, that might prove to be difficult, right? If it's 11,125,000, I think there are ways that we could work something like that out. And the loan would be repaid by revenues that are associated with a new, let's call it connection charge, that would be imposed on new connections to the system subsequent to bringing the water tank online. And I'm repeating all of this to make sure we're all of the same understanding about what we're talking about here. Existing development charges that you have for the Big Bend Water District, which are largely in place to maintain the system that you already have, would remain in place for those purposes, and this would be an additional surcharge or connection charge above that to repay the loan. And of course, there's a lot of discussion about over a 30-year term, will there be sufficient development to fully repay that loan? I don't think anybody in this room knows the answer to that, right? And I brought up to you last time something I had checked with bond counsel about, and that was the ability to take a 30-year loan and extend it to a 50-year term also exists if we needed more time to fully replenish the funds, okay? And we already talked about this point. If additional funding becomes available during the term of the loan, I think it would be in your best interest to have that applied directly to the replenishment of the Fort Mojave Fund. So the recommendation, I've tried to give this a lot of thought. The recommendation that I would make to you is that you approve the concept of the loan from the Fort Mojave Fund to Big Bend Water District to fund the project. And what this will do is it'll allow other steps to be taken concurrent to everything else that's going on instead of sequentially, right? Like the preparation of legal documents, because that has to be done by bond counsel. This will actually be an executed contractual type of lending agreement between two entities. The county hasn't shown a lot of interest in incurring the cost of having those documents prepared until such time as they felt that there was a reason to have them prepared. The second part of that would be the computation of the actual connection charge for new development. I mean, I could give you a guess of the amount I think it would be, but we would actually like to do science instead of art in figuring that out, and that can be done concurrently. All of that is tied to the loan and beginning to undertake the public bidding process, and my recommendation to you, and this is a number that I've been given, and I've been given an explanation for, that $950,000 of the 11 million be identified as funding for the design of the project. So of the 11 million that we're talking about, 950,000 is for design. Now, that's another number that the 950,000 is an estimate. They would have to go out to bid to see what the actual design cost would be. But my understanding is the 950 is kind of at the top end of what the expectations would be. Once it's designed, we will actually have a better idea of what the total project cost is and can go forward. And I would think that, and I'll ask Mark this question, but if you go forward with this and we get out to design, then when the design is completed, and I have no idea how long these things take to design, but that can be reported back to you at this board, so that, the design, the cost of the design came in at this. Once the design is completed, the project cost came in at this. And I think those are important numbers for all of us to have, because otherwise we're guessing at what the total cost may be. And since it has a direct association with the loan or the line of credit, however you want to look at it, that Fort Mojave may be providing, I think it's essential for those numbers to get, to become real. So part of the recommendation would be that you also approve the expenditure of the up to $950,000 for the design out of the 11 million to get that part of the ball rolling. Now, the action that you're taking doesn't necessarily compel the county to move forward with the loan, which will be subject to the enactment of the new connection charges, because that will become very important to have those put into place, and the cost of the project as determined through the bidding process. So there are a number of points that come up that, while we're looking to try to engage this process, if the numbers come back and they're not workable, there's a number of ways to disengage from the process. And with that, that would be my recommendation to you, that you consider moving forward with the concept of the loan, capping at 11 million with 950,000 of that being segregated for design, and enabling all of the other steps to make this whole thing work be undertaken. So with that, I'll take any questions or comments. And by the way, I heard earlier about Joelle, and
You did a lot of work with her over
I
the
did
years.
a lot of
I know
work
we
with
did.
her several years ago, and I was extremely surprised and very saddened to hear of that.
Okay, do you have any comments?
Madam Chair, just the question that I had asked you, so indeed with that recap, you think that possibility, and maybe not for the study and stuff, that the Fort Mojave Development Fund backing the loan would help us with the NIB?
I honestly don't know.
There would be a source to repay it, or revenues, because we do have standard revenue coming in on an annual basis from the Fort Mojave Development Fund.
I think that's an interesting concept.
Okay. But it's something that could be explored,
Oh,
because
yeah,
if we
yeah,
endorse
yeah.
the concept, it's something that can be looked at.
Let me think that through with you for a moment, okay? So let's say you move forward with Fort Mojave, you get things moving. Look into the Nevada Infrastructure Bank, because that's an application process to the state treasurer, okay? And so the security for the loan would be revenues from the water, the connection charge revenues, supplemented by a pledge from Fort Mojave to make up the delta, right? And I think that's what you're talking about. Now, that might make it a viable loan.
Correct.
But I obviously am not the person who decides, on the loans from the Nevada Infrastructure Bank. But let's say that happened, and then that loan took the place of this loan, the Fort Mojave funds. Yeah, that could happen. That could potentially happen. Now, the other thing I think you want to think about is the State Infrastructure Bank charges interest on their loans.
Correct.
Well. So you're going to
We'll have to look at interest for it.
With the solar farm coming in, we would have additional income coming into that, so that would be another source of backing, being able to pay the loan as well.
Well, as an additional or as an addendum to whatever motion you make, if you also want to provide instruction to Mark, not that I'm the one that gives homework to Mark, but to also investigate whether or not something like the Nevada Infrastructure Bank or a state revolving fund or some other source might be available with an additional pledge from the Fort Mojave funds to replace the loan. I think that's very worthwhile to do. Now,
And I'm hopeful that when we get the concept, when they bring options to this board, that we'll get different options like that we've thought of, and mine's greater than ours in this world like yours, because NIB wasn't even on my radar until you brought that, which is why I'm grateful that you're here. Because these are things we don't deal with in our normal course of, making Cinnabons and dealing with National Infrastructure Bank doesn't go hand in hand, but you have dealt with those. So from that standpoint, we value your input, and that's just another option. And I'm hopeful when we proposed, if we endorse the concept, if my fellow members endorse the concept of it, that we endorse it with the expectation that many things are going to be coming, whether it's CDAC, whether it's NIB, whether it's revolving loan funds, matching funds from federal, because we've seen when we're dealing with, the airport, Jackie. So when we're dealing with the airport, we've seen different grants that have happened there that are, if you have matching funds, the community has to bring X, and if you have matching funds, then the federal government will kick in. So these need to be marked D, all the above, that I'm hoping that they'll bring to us.
Oh, you raise what I think is a very, very, very good point. Look, in some ways, 30 years isn't very long. I think all of us,
It sure feels like it, but okay.
There's that perspective, right? But when you're talking about something like this, 30 years is also a long time. I mean, we've seen cycles where federal funds are amazingly available, and we've seen periods where they're very constrained, right?
Usually, typically decades. I've kind of seen kind of 10-year roles with that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that we can associate with that we don't, necessarily want to get into. But so there are programs that could happen. Interest rates, frankly, that could become a limiting factor over time. But I think that the main thesis behind a lot of this discussion we've had over the last month or so has been getting the thing moving in a direction where you can feel the progress actually being made. If cheaper money becomes available, we always are looking for cheaper money. I mean, I spend a good part of my days looking at the portfolio of loans that are extended on behalf of the water authority or the airport or the county, and looking for ways to make that cheaper. And it's amazing, a few basis points over a 30-year term with a couple of $1 billion is real money, right? So we're constantly looking for that, and I think you all should be looking for that, and we'll look at that along with you.
And is it the course, in your normal course of dealings with these, since it's obviously more than ours, if we did do a loan from Fort Mojave Development Fund, is that typically not considered interest bearing, or that there wouldn't be interest paid on it, because that's another thing to consider in paying the money back, if there's interest associated with that?
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword.
Correct, and that's why I'm asking
Like
you.
on one hand, you as
It makes the project cost more.
That's right.
Correct, yeah. I mean, that is the flip side of it, but, if it makes the project cost more, but there's other grant monies, I mean, and it makes something for the Fort Mojave Development Fund. I'm just curious if that happens in your world.
Well, it's certainly, yeah. We're always looking for the option that provides us with the lowest net present value cost. And when you add interest in, that's something you have to take into consideration. For example, just thinking off the top of my head, if we were to go out and secure a Nevada Infrastructure Bank loan for part of this at, say, 3% interest.
At what?
I'm just using an illustration.
Okay. I just didn't hear
let's
your
say
number.
3% interest. I don't know what the interest rate would be, 2%, 3%. You're accruing the interest, and then the obligation from the Fort Mojave Fund to repay that would also increase, right? That's the two-edged sword with this. On one hand, you want to see the Fort Mojave Fund at least get what it might have been earning if it hadn't been used this way.
Correct.
But on the other side of it, if it's not being used, you're not moving forward with the project either, right? So it's a two-edged sword.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, I just wasn't sure, and nothing we had talked about yet had said anything about interest bearing. But I see both sides of that, so I see that point. And then one more question. I don't know where else you're going to be going with us today, but can you help me just to define, you know, I'm inundated with a lot of terminology because I'm not a water expert, but one of the terms that has come forward to me is hydrology study. Can you kind of define what the scope would be of a hydrology study? Because to my knowledge, at least going through some of the paperwork I have from Fred, that I've been able, I'm not sure if you're aware, one of our board members who's been involved in this whole water thing for going back to like 2008, it passed away in office. And he was working on one vein, I was working in another, and I'm slowly getting, you know, some of his stuff and picking it up, but it's not been like everything all at once. So at least in my understanding, there hasn't been a hydrology study done on our current water system. Can you please define the scope of what that is? Because everyone says that term, and I kind of feel stupid because I really don't know what that means, but if you would please elaborate on that.
Well, I may be embarking on feeling stupid right along with you.
Oh, okay.
Because, you know, my lane is public finance. I know a little bit about water, a hydrology study to me, and there are a couple of folks here who may rescue me
Awesome.
from,
Let me know.
from the water district and water authority, but it sounds to me like it's an overall look at the water availability.
That seems to be what it's defined from people much that are in the system, but I just wanted to know if you felt that that was an encompassing report.
Well, it sounds to me like it would be. And your asking of that question reminds me of something else I absolutely wanted to mention to you all. And I think I mentioned it last time. You earlier made the comment that you would expect the Fort Mojave Fund to have additional revenues coming into it in future years, which is what we all hope.
30 years, 35
30
years with the solar contract?
30 years.
Yeah.
That's right.
And any other uses or sales that may take place, right, that would also augment the money in the Fort Mojave Fund. My recommendation to you, and it's separate from your hydrology question, but having a capital plan for the economic development of the Laughlin area that speaks to the future use of Fort Mojave funds, I think is essential for you to do.
And that had occurred to me too, but at a point, so I've been here long enough, we used to have committees. That's basically where a lot of the knowledge Fred has and I have. I ran public works and public safety. We used to have various committees. Clark County did away with those, and only in recent years. So one of the things that I would like to have that as well. I don't think they'll allow us to have it at the sanctioned by Clark County, but it is something that I have asked that maybe our Chamber of
Did
Commerce.
ask Mark to
Yeah.
check into that
Yeah.
after our last meeting.
Yeah.
And I did check into it, and that's the response that I got, is that they don't have formalized committees anymore across the board in Clark County. They did away
Correct.
with those. And so it occurred to me possibly a vehicle that could be done is through our Chamber of Commerce. And so that was one of the ways I was looking at it, and Mark sits also. I sit on the board of directors, but also Mark sits on it as well. So that would be kind of a way to encompass it into, you know, into where the county is informed of it.
And you're correct on that. I know the committees went away, not based on our board, based on
No, based
all
on
county boards.
countywide. It wasn't
Because there's
us, yeah.
issues with like meetings and all that stuff. I think we can do it. I was talking to some staff of like, within the duties of the town board, we could possibly have that as like part of,
Right, because it falls outside the scope of public safety. This is management of our Fort Mojave Fund.
Right.
Which we manage, not Clark County.
yes, so we could look at,
From my perspective, we should be able to formulate.
Well, if I might, let me add a little bit more to that. You have needs down here for future economic development, right? I understand what some of them may be, community needs. And identification of what those needs are is something that can be done regardless of the source of funding. Whether it's something that, I used to put the county's budget together, I did that for 15 years. I received requests from every corner of the county for consideration for things. when you have a list of capital priorities that you've identified, again, it doesn't matter whether it's being funded by county capital dollars, bond funds, Fort Mojave funds, you have identified a list of priorities. And I think that's essential for you all to have. You know, I've had, you know, to be frank about it, I've had discussions with members of your community that indicate there is a concern about the Fort Mojave funds being used for things other than the direct benefit that as you see fit. That kind of plan put together would be your armor against that, right? Because you have those identified. So it's, again, it's just a suggestion. It has nothing to do with the item.
It's
or
a
motion.
missing piece. It's been a missing piece for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'd highly recommend it, recommend doing
And I think it's similar to, I know we do our capital budget request every year, which is
Correct, which
similar.
has to be in by May, voted on by June, so it's
Yeah.
in effect by July. We always have those timelines in the corporate
Yeah.
world, and Clark County does too.
So we could kind of do, I think, something similar to that with the town board being the acting body of it, where I, of course, have to reach out to our DA and make sure, you know, all that stuff is good. But I think that's kind of an avenue we could go with creating, with our town board being the kind of the voice through community input of how they want those funds
The
to go.
committee could bring it to the town board so that it's timely in its voting.
Which is why I had suggested that we have someone from the board, maybe 2 or 3, but it doesn't matter. On that committee, we can't have more than 2 of us. But we have got to have input from our community and those who have the background required to look at what we need as far as infrastructure in the community, so we can formulate something and bring it to the board.
Sure.
Which is why I had talked to you about
Yep.
that. I know we couldn't have committees as far as like what we did before.
Yeah.
But since this is really only affecting
Fort
Mojave
Yeah.
Fund, there should not be a.
And let me follow up on that and see what the.
And just another caveat to add to that is, as this progresses, there will be reports, there will be data, there will be, we're paying this out of this, this is what it's going to. And so that same committee can provide those reports
Yep, yeah, I know.
to the board, and, you know, we authorize it, even if it needs to be authorized to, you know, cut, you know, $850,000 check for
Sure.
something. And the community is aware and stuff, so I can see that being utilized going forward.
Yep, and I'll talk with our DA more in depth with it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
kind
you
of
always
brought
have
to
to
them.
get-
They get nervous with the whole committees, and then you kind of have to like
And
steer
we
them,
get
so.
that, but
Yeah,
in this case, it's a little different than
Yep.
what it's.
yep, so I'll wait for more responses back.
Well, separate and apart from what I'm talking to you about today, as you're going through that process, if I could be a sounding board, happy to do it.
That's great, thank you.
No,
Been doing this for a long time.
you have a lot of history here, so that's helpful.
Appreciate that.
So that's the background and my recommendation to you all. So I thank you for the time once again.
Thank you. We had somebody else who wants to come up and talk.
I may have to break and pee. Sorry.
Robert Bilbray, 1631 Cal Edison Drive here, representing Bilbray Industries. It goes without saying, in the last meeting, I kind of indicated to you my personal respect for Guy Hobbs and my appreciation to the commissioner for bringing him into this investigation. There's a few things that I was going to say in public comment, but I'd like to say now. This has been going on for 4.5 years. We've got tax rolls closing in December. All the commercial, all the raw land is probably going to drop 15 to 18%. And it's going to be compounded every year until there's potable water service in this community. Now, if you can understand what hitting our tax rolls are going to be and there's really nothing we can do for this year. The appeals are going to be astronomical by the property owners in our township, like we've never seen before. I've prepared the assessor for what's coming. There's not, if it wasn't for an unrelated demand to get out of California, Oregon, Washington, Denver, hyping the valuations of our existing built residential, we'd be so underwater you couldn't believe it, folks. That's what's been holding us up during this. But the damages, you know, coming from what I perceive this community has and has had a distrust in the management by the Las Vegas Valley Water District of the Big Bend Water District. I'm not alone in that feeling. So we have to recognize distrust is part of this answer that we've got to give. We've got to take away that distrust. I've explained it to Guy. He's perceived it before we even got here. That's not going to be easy to overcome. It's been 4.5 years and nothing but a Family Dollar, not one single family house. How do we explain this to contractors who don't want to bid? How do we resurrect the damage that's been done? It's not going to be easy. This looking at a concept set of loan documents will help. The Nevada Industrial Bank will help. We've waited 4.5 years for the district to go chasing around begging for money. They didn't do it. Ladies and gentlemen, time's over. It's gonna. We've got to recognize that it's not believable any longer. We've waited 4.5 years. We've got to show the critical elements of development of this community in reality. Did I just hear my 3 minutes
Yes,
go?
you did.
I've never honored that anyway, so, but you know, I look forward to continuing to working with Guy. I expect something. We know it's not going to be an investor grade debt. We know that. To the extent we can get the strongest guarantees and the strongest repayment plan, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not in favor of something I haven't seen. But I don't want it to be slowed up by any distractions. And for that reason, I'd appreciate your support of at least the conceptual.
Thank you. We have other speakers. Thank you.
If you have any questions of me, ask them of Guy. I'm over my 3 minutes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Evan Needham, World Economic Support Agency. I just wanted to give you guys an update with the legislative session since NIB was being discussed. There is a special legislation taking place, but this legislative session, they did not vote to add any funds into the NIB. So we've had a meeting with the state treasury already. We already tried to go down that route with the NIB a couple times, and as of right now, we would have to wait till 2027 for that to get reloaded. But we are already working on the legislator bill to tie the tank into that as well. So there's hope in 2 ways there for 27, but we would have to wait for 27 for the NIB to be viable, unless something happens in the special, but right now it's not looking like that's happening. So I just wanted to give you guys that for food for thought to add into the discussion for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carrie Larson, and I am speaking on behalf of the chamber. I don't have any developer members right now because nobody can build here. But my future developers would need to know some very important things. Like, for example, in July of 23, I was on the phone. A lot of people were in this building when they talked about how our system, as is, needed 4 million gallons of storage with no additional building. That has now come down 2 years later to, well, if we get a 2 million gallon tank, we can build. But there is no analysis, no straight numbers given of the system to let us know, can we use all 2 million gallons for new development. In that case, if we were to say, yeah, we'll do the 2 million gallon tank, you can use all of it for building. It's about 350 acres of development. And at about 5 units to the acre, you're talking about adding 1,750 homes. Let's assume worst case scenario, bureaucracy, it costs $11 million to build a $5 million tank. That's gonna cost a developer $6,286 on top of, I don't remember what they mentioned, but the SDA fee was gonna go up a lot. At 6 units to the acre, that's 2,100 houses at $5,238 in extra fees. But what if we can only build 100 acres because the rest of the system needs the rest of the tank? You're now looking at $22,000 a house of the prices going up. And I can tell you 100% certain because of my previous job, we are talking about when you add a $22,000 fee to a house, you're not building houses for under $500,000, and that is your bargain basement, is there drywall in the garage kind of house. No, there's not. Formica countertops. Well, never mind. Not inexpensive cabinets. So I think that it is important that while we may be exploring what does it look like for us to use the Fort Mojave Development Fund, we must have a study done that is going to definitively say, as our system as it is, we're only pumping 7.7 million gallons are available to pump because we've got things that have to be built or repaired to bring us back up to the 17.7. We have to have a study done because there's no way a builder is going to come to town and not know on a gamble how many houses they can build with a 2 million gallon tank.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Fisher, Fisher, 3179 Quail Song Drive. I just want to reiterate a few points. I'm glad that Pam gave that whole explanation because I am very concerned that this is not alone at all. Basically, I've been in meetings where developers have said that the connection charges that are quoted right now, that's even before we run into cost overruns, whatever, are non-economic. In other words, they can't build at that price. So there is no point whatsoever of building for development unless you have some kind of guarantee that there will be development, and that actually makes a loan somewhat viable. As it stands right now, if you build this without getting something, at least agreements in principle, that developers will use the facility, to my mind, it's really just a grant to the Big Bend Water District. It's, there is no economic development unless the system and its cost make it economic for developers to build with those connection charges. And you can't call something a loan, especially from a trust fund, if there is no chance of repayment from the sources that have been identified. Then you're just granting money. You could view it as granting it to high-end housing developers. You could view it as granting to the Big Bend Water District. But it's not a loan if there isn't sort of a sensible, it doesn't have to be guaranteed, but some kind of viable idea that this works, the numbers work. I think we are so far away from papering a deal. I guess coming as a corporate treasurer, my thought was always, you've got to get the numbers right. And here, there seems to be a real, falling out of the demand. It has to be demand for what we can build it at. And short of that, I think you're not really looking at a loan at all. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think that was going along with what Fred was looking at with the hydrology report and the analysis. I know he had talked to me a couple of times and I wasn't real sure what he was talking about either.
And I'm learning.
But that the analysis was not there and the hydrology reports, that until you have those, we can't really move forward with even making an intelligent decision on this without
Correct,
looking
understanding.
at the whole picture.
And that's kind of what, you know, I can't speak to these ladies, you know, before the meetings or go over of any of this. I just warned them it might be a long meeting because I'm gonna be a storm cloud and rain on their parade today. So, and in just getting into some of the documentations, you know, looking at some of the correspondence with Bronson Mac and Fred had, there hasn't been a hydrology study. You know, so here's me, I've sat on this board for a very long time, and, you know, I feel very responsible for what this situation is, because I've been here the longest duration. And, you know, next to me was Fred. And so, you know, I very much want to find a creative solution to this, and I want to get shit moving, because this is, it affects me personally. I live and die by what happens in this community. I'm not a commissioner that lives up in Vegas. Nothing wrong with that, but he relies on us to do this. I live and die by what happens here. I have 2 residential, you know, large properties that I'd love to build on. I can build, but, you know, the market with everything else going on, it's just not a time to do so. So I kind of picked apart the things that I've gotten from Fred. I am gonna, you know, ask, as far as we kind of have a theme here today, which is cart and horse. We've had the cart before the horse. And, you know, going into just doing a concept of a loan, I understand that. But what I'd like to do is I want to hinge that on 2 things that I think this community needs. And it needs it regardless. And these are things that I'm looking at, you know, funding from the Fort Mojave Development Fund. Number 1 is a hydrology study, so that we know the current status of our water system as it sits here today, and the hydrology study to include tank 1 and tank 2. What will that give us? What will be the development? What will we be able to produce? What will we be able to build with tank 1 and tank 2? So that's the hydrology study, and I don't know what that's gonna cost, but I do know the money we have in Fort Mojave Development Fund, and I do know that that will more than likely cover it. But I can't negate the fact that there is a mistrust with the water district. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, you know, I've worked with you for years, but there is a mistrust in how this has been managed. So I have to protect the residents of this community, and I have to make that study, make the town advisory board involved with having the commissioner create transparency with the water district, having the third-party independent do the hydrology study as requested, funded by the Fort Mojave Development Fund, and that property or that report would remain property of this town board and the Fort Mojave Development Fund. Then the second caveat that I want to add to this is that the Fort Mojave Development Fund consider doing or do the design of the storage tanks, tank 1 and tank 2, again, with an independent design firm. And that design plan will be with the commissioner's guarantee of transparency with the water department and this town board involved in the process for the individual going for a request for proposal and the process, that it be retained by the Fort Mojave Development Fund. Because if we don't have them do it, if there's a third-party NGO that can do it, we have the hydrology, we own it. We have the design plan, we own it. If we look at some point, you know, having an NGO, Mr. Needham has an NGO coming in and building it, it's all done to the legal requirements that Clark County would need, that Las Vegas Valley Water District would need. And so then at that point, we have those items, because I think this board can be probably in a logical agreement that we're going to need that no matter what we do. We've been told the system is this, we've been told the system is that, and quite frankly, I'm confused.
I really am too.
Yeah.
Because first it was, we've got to have 2 additional teams. Now it's down to, oh, we only need the 1. I'm in agreement with what the chamber is saying, is that how can you go from saying you have to have two down to saying one, and that you can build homes off of that when there's not been any analysis done? I do think this is putting the cart before the horse.
And Carrie brought up in the very beginning in that 2023 meeting when Doha came down here, I was in that as a stakeholder and property owner, and it was a public safety concern. You know, like if we had a major problem, just like what happened in the LA fires, you know, you could get water from your hose, but you couldn't get it from the fire hydrant. Why? Because you didn't have the pressure, the storage tank to pressurize. Your little hose could do it, your kitchen faucet could do it, but you know, your 3-inch main for your fire hydrant couldn't put out any water. And that's what they're trying to avoid with us. And that was always a public safety concern. I still think it is, which is why, you know, looking at CDAC and stuff are options. So I drafted, you know, somewhat a motion that, yes, we'll consider the loan concept. We'd like to, in order to get things going, because I think we're going to need it no matter what we do, I think the Fort Mojave Development Fund should fund the hydrology study to commence as soon as possible for our current status of our system, tank 1 and tank 2, and what does that give us? And that's retained by us. We're involved in the bidding process. We're involved in the ongoing process. The commissioner guarantees transparency from the water district. And then we do the design of the storage tanks. We have to have them. This has to happen regardless from Fort Mojave Development Fund. Then we look at doing the loan, and we can recoup those costs at that point, but we have to get some wheels under the bus because it's just sitting on the frame at this point. And so that's what I'm trying to do. But then I consider the concept of the loan to include the options that were presented here today, as far as National Infrastructure Bank, the things that Guy Hodge brought up, the ongoing solar revenues, matching funds, revolving loan funding, WRDA, because that's another thing that wasn't mentioned today that's coming out there to lessen the cost of whatever that loan is going forward. But just in order to get some wheels under the bus, I'd like to see us look at funding those two things. They retain our property, they become ours. So if we want to give it to an NGO in conjunction with the water district, we have the option of doing that. To me, this is just a business decision. I understand this is government, but it needs to be a business decision.
I'd like to see this come back on the next agenda.
Okay.
We could
work with him to rewrite it right now, because this is for possible action.
Right, but I actually have something that might work, and I don't know. I can read this because, and this is just a proposed motion, so you guys can consider it. So what I have is to consider a loan from the Fort Mojave Development Fund to the cap costs to build the water state storage tank, including options that were presented today, which Tammy, you'll draw some. I have this written out, but you'll draw up some of the things that were done. I have the National Institution or National Infrastructure Bank, our ongoing solar funds, matching funds, and revolving loan fund, as well as WRDA, contingent upon the following studies and design plan for which the funds from the Fort Mojave Development Fund will be used. Number 1, hydrology study. Current system, it be used to evaluate the current system and the capacity and additions, therefore, with tank 1 and tank 2. Number 2, design of the storage tanks 1 and tanks 2 that are needed. These reports and designs are to be from a third-party licensed individual or firm with the required jurisdiction, will have assistance and overview from our commissioner and the Las Vegas Valley Water District, as well as the Town Advisory Board, in their selection of the third-party bidding process and ongoing developments. These reports and design review will remain the property of the Fort Mojave Development Fund. Sorry, I have it in writing, but you see what I'm saying?
Yes, and I get what you're saying. I would like it to be perfectly clear, not adding in, Tammy, you
It's
do
for
this.
possible
I
action,
know.
so revise the
Right,
motion.
Right, yeah, just let's put it on the next agenda, or we can even do it at another meeting this month. if you wanted.
For the holidays to do a special call.
Yeah, we could do a special call, that's not typically what's done, and we could just exactly have it worded correctly.
It's up to you what you think. What would
It's a
be the
full
special
read
call
on-
date?
I would prefer to be able to sit and read that myself.
When would be a special call with the holiday?
Yeah,
But that,
it'll
yeah,
be
we can't do it the week
November
of-
25th.
Yeah, we
is
can't do it.
Yeah, and then the other one would be December for the regular December
December
meeting.
9th.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, I've got no problem with
But
that.
I
just
would
think
like to
it's-
be able to read it and
Sure.
then see if there's any changes I would like to make in the wording or additions I'd like to make to it when we do vote on it.
Yeah, it gets us much closer to, it protects our constituents.
I agree.
And it gives us ammo to go forward, because
Yes.
then we have a hydrology state. So then, sorry, gentlemen, it's not that I don't believe what you're saying, but I'm not a water person. You know what I'm saying? I don't always understand the special language that you speak. I speak special language in cinnamon and sugar and coffee and lattes and stuff, and you don't know that language either. I just don't know it. And I think that, you know, laying it out this way, getting the hydrology study, then we own it, then we have it, then we can shop it, then we can see. And owning the design review, the money's in the Fort Mojave Development Fund. And then once we can have the loan with all of the options out there, then we can say we're gonna pay this back from WRDA or National Infrastructure Bank or whatever. But we have those, and we can get going and get some people interested in things, knowing that this is coming, because right now, we're just spinning for 4.5 years.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's important, like, we have a funding source to do those two options if we do that the following month. And then that kind of puts that, we have what the hydrology study says, and then we have what the cost of a tank is, which I think has been the mystery that no one really knows. We don't know what the market and all that. I think having that concrete helps. So for clarification, what Ms. Oak said was what we'll put on the agenda for December.
Possible action, so the action is revising, so I guess I can make a motion that we revise the request for the concept of the loan to be, as I said, which I will give to Tammy in writing.
Yes, thank you. That was my next question. So then we'll have that, the concept of the loan, and then have it with the two options that you want. But you'll provide that all to Tammy, and we'll have
Correct, yeah,
that.
it's
so.
basically, the concept of the loan is contingent upon these being done.
Okay,
We have to have this.
Yep, I agree.
You can't miracle out a loan on what you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it for my businesses or my home or my house or personally, so why would I expect any of our residents to do the same?
and it gives you the
take same
protection
risk?
of if we don't like what it comes back at, you haven't fully committed, you've only
Correct, but
committed
we own
to.
those studies.
Which will be very valuable, so, okay.
Yep.
I will work with Mr. Hobbs, I'll work with county staff and everything to find out the,
All right, so that's
yeah.
the motion. Do we have a second?
You got a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Favor.
Sorry.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
She did. Okay, comments by the general public. A period devoted to comments by the general public about matters relevant to the board's jurisdiction will be held. No vote may be taken on a matter not listed on the posted agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step up to the speaker's podium. If applicable, clearly state your name and address, and please spell your last name for the record. If any member of the board council wishes to extend the length of a presentation, this will be done by the chairperson or the board by majority vote. Mr. Bilberry.
Robert Bilbray, 1631 Cal Edison Drive, Bilbray. Just wanted to let you know that I've, with respect to construction materials in this town, the pit that I own, I've been able to secure operators to reopen. This is talking asphalt, concrete, pea gravel, everything. I've been unable to find anyone who will operate the pit because all they see in the future is Casino Drive. they don't have any faith that there's going to be any other development within the township in the next 5 to 8 years. They won't open a pit for that. So that leaves us with a couple alternatives. Me personally, everybody in Bullhead wants my little rocks, and they want to ship it to Bullhead to do it, and I won't do that. For them to process everything to be built in Arizona. We're going to lose a lot of motor vehicle fuel tax on Casino Drive because it'll all have to be hauled from Las Vegas. They don't build the specs to what our requirements are to the same requirements in Arizona. So I just wanted to let you know I will talk to the commissioner about maybe an administrative exemption or something like that, but you know, just the permitting in Clark County would be $25,000 to $40,000 for me, just to permit the use permit for it. And I definitely have to have a qualified operator. I've always had one in the past. I've had more than one, but there's no interest by the operators of the pit as long as and it's a direct fallout because of the water issue and no future growth potential. So I just wanted to let you know I have already spoken with Dennis Cedarberg and with Kim in Public Works. So I don't think it'll impact the timing for Casino Drive improvement, but it will impact the amount of tax dollars used to build it. So just wanted to thank you for letting me go over my 3 minutes again.
I think we forgot to set the timer. I'm so frozen.
Oh, no, it's set.
Oh, I'm frozen, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not here. I'm out of town again.
Hi. First, I'll represent Rotary. There we go. And this is our first attempt, me and Ashlyn, to bring back Laughlin Days. I know some of you remember we had parades and festivals and all kinds of wonderful things up on Needles Highway. Everybody participated. I remember all of you there. All the kids had a great time, and it was mainly for our families to be able to get there on the Silver Rider buses and walk to it and just have a wonderful night of camaraderie and community engagement. This is our first attempt. We've changed it to the Rev Fest. It is being sponsored by Mr. Bilbray at Bilbray Industries. Ashlyn is my partner in this, and it benefits Rotary. The reason they picked Rotary is because we're the most active nonprofit group in the community, serving all ages, but primarily doing a lot of wonderful projects for our students. We have 2 more programs coming up that will be permanent, and you'll be able to hear about those soon. They're pretty cool, and our students will benefit from both. So it's this Saturday from 8 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We know that there's rain forecasted, but we also have a whole bunch of warehouses at Bilbray Industries. And they're preparing those tomorrow morning if the rain looks heavy to bring out everything indoors. One thing that's really popular is food. Cat Bone is going to be there playing. We have a lot of nonprofits setting up for information, and we have a kids zone and a silent auction. The silent auction items number about 30 items, and they're all silent auction items of items that are valued at $25 or more. And we have a kids zone, and I'm bringing in RC cars. Because this is a car show, I want the kids to be able to learn some eye-hand coordination with some RC cars, and we're setting up a track inside, and they can all learn how to do them. These are hobby grade and toy grade, so the littles can learn how to do them really slow, but it's gonna be a great day, and I'm kind of excited. So there's your reminder. Now let's talk about ducks. I also sit on the board of directors for the River Fund. Services both sides of the river. And starting at 2 o'clock on Saturday, I have to run after the Rev Fest to Bullhead City, where we're throwing all the ducks in the heated community pool, and some local celebrity individuals will be blindfolded and walk into the beach part of that and pluck ducks out. If you've done this before, you know the ducks all have butt numbers on them or numbers on their butts. And so if we pull your number, then you get a chance at some of the $3,750 or down to 30 or 40th spot in gifts, ranging from high, a couple $100 for tickets and concerts and all kind of stuff, all the way down to about $25 or more for those presents or prizes that you will win. That duck pluck will also have, I have 2 organizations. Do I get more than 3 minutes?
Oh.
We'll have some food there. We have some food trucks coming. We also have beverage trucks. We have entertainment by the local Veterans in Motion and military bands. That's the most exciting part, and lots of people running around having a good time just celebrating the services that River Fund provides. So I hope that you'll see me at both because I'm going to be running like a duck with her head cut off. So Jill apologizes for not being here, and I tried to get some pictures and write some things down for her. She's my crazy duck, and she's doing an amazing job getting us out there. But remember, just go to River Fund, Bullhead City or Laughlin in your Google or Safari search, and it will bring up River Fund. When you open that website, there's a big circle with a duck in the middle of it. Click on it, and it will give you all the things that you need to know about adopting ducks. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, our next meeting is December 9th, 2025, in this room at 1:30. I get a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.